My turn, bitch.
Fuck. I watched it. I watched 13 episodes of it.
You were asked to watch 11.
No.
Why'd you watch 2 more?
I enjoy yelling at the screen.
Really?
Oh God, are these people idiots? They are the biggest morons I've seen in anime or horror, but for some reason I keep watching because the atmosphere is good, the idea is good, the story is good, but these people are dumbasses! Oh, the doctor! I want to hit him! The boy! The boy! He deserved to die sooner.
Spoilers, by the way.
If you hadn't noticed. Okay. Let's break this down a little bit.
The anime I actually watch is an anime called Shiki. It's dubbed by Funimation Entertainment and can be found on Amazon, Right Stuff.
Anywhere you can buy anime. And honestly, if you're a fan of horror, Japanese horror, and if you're a fan of good settings and suspense, I'd recommend it. And okay, the thing what really gets me going is the imagery. The things they use to show their point, and especially early on in the series, they kind of let it slack later, but definitely that early few episodes, it is great. Now, I am going to say this. I called it at episode 2.
I called it around 4.
I called it the second they were talking about anemia and bug bites.
I honestly wasn't thinking about it because all I knew was this was a horror anime. And I figured that just meant that there was a serial killer or something like that. So I wasn't thinking supernatural for whatever reason.
I kind of got that at the beginning. But, okay, if you pay attention in the first episode, you will guess it. So if you haven't seen it yet, watch the first episode and you think you can guess it, watch the first episode. We'll stop here for a second. Watch it, come back, and then I'm going to spoil it.
Did you have fun watching it?
Or do you not care? Hey, anyways. Vampires. Fucking vampires. And vampires done right. I have to say, they're not sparkly little bitches.
No, they aren't.
They are truly, they seem like living dead.
They are.
They are freaky as hell. And up until they started talking, I was freaked out. I'll admit it. Like, I had problems. Like, I watched 4 episodes, I'd stop. Watch 4 episodes, and I'd stop. And each time I would be thinking about vampires in this situation. Then it gets to the end of season 1, which is at episode 11. And at the end, I am still screaming my head off at how dumb these people are acting. The doctor gives up. Just because he got threatened. I know he's not really giving up. And then the monk. Oh my God. I can't kill the dead. The doctor says something and I love it. You'll let the living die, but you'll protect the dead. And thank you, doctor. I want to smack this monk upside his head. I want to feed him to the creepy little girl.
What? I have to ask.
Both of them.
What do you think of the little girl? Because
okay,
I actually watched this for the first time with my brother. He was the one who recommended it to me. And he thoroughly enjoyed my reaction to the little girl because she has soulless eyes.
They all have soulless eyes.
Her especially, though.
Yes.
So when I saw her, my reaction was of the, oh my God, what the hell variety.
Japan knows their creepy children, I'll give them that.
They're quite good at it. We haven't done anything special with it since, like, the Children of the Corn.
Yeah, you can make arguments about that.
Yeah, seriously.
But, Japan knows their creepy children, and they do it well. They do a lot of really interesting things with the story. They really haven't started fighting back to where I'm at in the story, and I wish they would. Because I keep yelling at these idiots. Why'd you throw your cross away? Why'd you throw the fucking cross away? How dumb are you? Why did you let your dad clean up your room and he just not put it back up after?
Okay, for those of you who haven't seen this anime and joined and watching this with us, Shiki is a horror anime in which a group of vampires essentially begin attacking this small town that's secluded in the mountains. And it just kind of goes to hell from there. And we see how the people react to this. At first, the doctor believes it's anemia. It doesn't look like anything necessarily supernatural.
They keep talking about plagues and epidemics. And
the first 4 or 5 episodes, they have like no idea what's going on. It doesn't even occur to anyone vampires.
No one's gonna think that. And like, I'm thinking it because it's a show and it's an anime, and it doesn't take me out of it. It's like, oh, vampires. But in the real life, no rational person would think vampires. At worst, you'd think serial killer. Okay. Now let's talk about the thing that keeps me coming back. The imagery. Oh my god. Okay, one of the first episodes, I think it's either 1 or 2, they do this scene where this lady gets woken up in her house by honking horn.
Yep.
And they show the guy who's honking the horn, and he looks like a living zombie corpse from the light. It's not really what he looks like, but it is an amazing moment. And then see episode 4, when he confirms that Megumi is still alive. Well, still around. And how she comes out from under that bed was probably pants shitting terrifying when watching it dead at night, no lights. It was I couldn't take my eyes off, and I loved that. Was the perfect imagery to use. Oh god, I don't want to spoil it for you. I'm going to say if you don't watch the series, go watch episode 4, the end of it, just to see that moment. It is, it's art.
The series definitely knows how to handle atmosphere, and it's one of the reasons I was drawn to it. I definitely got to give props to whoever did the character design on this series, because it really does understand what can be terrifying. Like, if you were to ask me to describe this series in one word, I would say creepy, because it's not all out terrifying to me. It's just a series that consistently sent chills up my spine, and it got me thinking a lot, especially towards the end, which unfortunately you won't be able to get to.
I'll get there.
At least yet. So
I'm having too much fun yelling at the idiots. Though, at the end of episode 13, the doctor's finally doing something. Though his wife died.
So, the vampires are essentially trying to take over this little town so that they can have a little place to call their own. And they really are just slaughtering this entire community. And keep in mind, even though this is a small town, there's still like
1,300 they talked about.
Yeah, so it's still fairly large amount of people there.
But people disappear fast.
And people start to notice these deaths, and people don't know how to handle it. That said, there are a select group of people who figure it out. Really, 3.
Mm-hmm.
Because anyone else who figures it out kind of then dies.
Especially that crazy lady.
Yeah.
Moron.
Well, she was kind of asking for it.
She kind of was.
She kind of had no idea what she was doing.
No, she didn't. And, okay. Not only, okay, the imagery is fantastic. The character design is good. The hairstyles, I think you put it best. Go ahead.
It is the craziest hairstyles I've ever seen since I saw Yu-Gi-Oh! They aren't like Yu-Gi-Oh! Where they're just like, how many curves and directions can I put it? It's not just the head hair. They do facial hair. They do eyebrows.
I'm hoping that guy becomes more prevalent.
So many people with the craziest hairstyles I've ever seen that I'm left baffled by it. I cannot believe the way they do it. And the thing that gets me is people will react emotionally to certain scenes, and then their hair moves with them, and they're like, what the fuck? So even regular people are freaky at times just because of their design.
It is great character design. Now I have to come to the shortcomings. I don't give a goddamn about one of these characters. I don't like a single one of these people. If it wasn't for the atmosphere and the imagery, I wouldn't watch this show. These characters have nothing to bring me back. The Doctor's kind of getting there for me, but these people are just way too moronic, way too stupid, and honestly, need to fucking grow up.
People definitely handle this very differently, and one of the things they definitely pull out of this series is vampires just don't wake up and they're like, blah, I'm a soulless creature, and that's like their life from then on. They are still feeling human emotions and all that stuff, and the way these vampires indoctrinate their people, they essentially try to desensitize them to murder and violence and say, oh, you're either one of us or you're going to die. Because there are ways that vampires can die, and I do love how they almost went with a traditional sense, and they actually explain, if you got to the point with the Doctor and his wife, you know exactly why they are hurt by what they're hurt by.
I don't know why yet. Episode 13, the Doctor's wife just died, and he just told his staff not to help him, because he's good. I'm assuming he's waiting for her to wake. So, we're back, camera's up again. We left off talking about the Doctor and what he's doing now.
Yep.
If I remember correctly, we were talking about how he let his wife die, and now he's watching her, waiting for her to rise.
Essentially, the way vampire physiology works in this series is vampire doesn't eat a person just in one sitting and go, ha, because that's a lot of fucking blood, and they don't want the person to be alive. They want to kill the person. So they actually feed on them over the course of like 3 or 4 nights, so they don't kill them all at once. This is why a person will just be seen as being sickly, and then things kind of go from there, and they even use a form of hypnotism that they really use, like this, and which I think you can kind of figure out.
It's very much, what I like about it is it's very much reminiscent to Dracula, the original Draculas, and how Bram Stoker really described vampires in this setting. Living dead, they can hypnotize you, they came to you multiple nights, they were convincing, they can't enter your house unless you invite them. All the rules that Bram Stoker came up with are in here, and it's really well done. And like I said before, they're not sparkly little bitches.
That is something you can always tell. If I enjoy something vampire-related, it's not Twilight in any way, shape, or form. Because I kind of hate what Twilight has attempted to do to vampires.
I think most of you hate that too, if I'm not mistaken.
Even some of the people who like Twilight are like, God, I like Twilight, but can we get some good vampires back in here, blah, blah, blah. I could rant about it, but...
One thing I like about what they do here is they don't rely on the sexy vampire that's been a lot in media, even in the past.
They don't.
They always use that damn sexy vampire. And in this, they actually really don't. They really go with that evil-looking vampire. Sure, some of them are attractive, but they're not sexy. They're not brooding and dark and mysterious, and they just need and want someone to love them. Good God.
One of the major themes of this series that I think is part of the reasons why I love it so much, and it's something that definitely comes into play in the later episodes, so you aren't there yet. But all throughout the series, you really get the feeling for death and the weight it brings, and how, and like really that's what drives all the people in the series, is like how death is affecting their lives. Mm-hmm. They're seeing all this, and people are fighting back because they're like, I've got too much to live for. People are fighting back because they're like, I'm not going to let this town be destroyed.
Or people let themselves die because they feel like they've lost too much.
Yep.
Don't run it for me, but the last time I saw who I thought was the main character, boy, at least he was the main character in the season 1. I think he just died. But they don't show him dead. They show him kind of asleep. And they talk about a coffin being taken out of their house, but they haven't officially said he's dead.
They go into more than a couple of things in the series. And
Is he still kind of the main character or no?
Honestly, my favorite character throughout the entire series was the Doctor, and I always viewed him more so as the main character.
I can see that. I do enjoy him a lot more than I like the boy.
Yes, and I could see why that would irk you, and all I'm going to say is, for anyone who watches the series, if you find it difficult to get through the first couple of episodes because of everything that's going on, it actually does have a really good ending.
Okay, I have to say this. That boy pissed me off when he got attacked. He was in front of enchanted water, magic water. I was just waiting for him to grab that bucket and throw it on one of them and then to scream and run. I just wanted to see that. I wanted to see him win. I wanted to see a victory. God, I wanted to see a human victory. I so wanted to, but no. At the very least, when he got attacked, he could have dived in the water with the guy, and then he could have, like, it'd been so much more interesting, if you ask me, at least for his character, instead of where they went with it. So bipolar.
The series definitely goes in a lot of directions that you wouldn't necessarily think, and it does a lot of things that you wouldn't necessarily expect. Like, the Doctor, for example, is a character that goes to a lot of places that made me go, fuck. And, like, the way he goes through and not only discovers vampires, but the way he approaches it really is unique, and it's the only way that he knows how to deal with it.
And I'll give you that. If there's any character I like, it would be the Doctor. The series going in interesting directions. Actually, there's a kind of a symbolism to that from the first episode. First episode, it starts on they're looking for somebody in the woods, screaming Megumi's name. Mm-hmm. And then they end the shot by showing her, you think she's dead, in the bushes.
Yeah.
And then they go into the opener. Now, this opener was actually jarring for me because it goes from this dark, creepy, like, intense vibe to kind of a cheery song. A bit of a rock ballad, and now, I think this is probably one of my favorite anime openers I've ever seen. It's up there for me. Because the animation is awesome. The symbolism, the imagery is fucking amazing in this opening. And we're going to stop for a second because I want to show you my favorite bit of the opening. So, enjoy. What do you think? The fucking raindrops hitting with time with the music onto that skull, and then it just stops. It doesn't go into a slow decay like most music does. It just stops, and I love that. You kind of think it's going to, but then it just stops, and it gives you that really creepy vibe. Especially how they image it. And there's a lot of great moments like that in the series. Early on in the series, they're in this house, and it's raining outside, and the way they choose to show the rain from their outside view is black dots going from the camera, kind of like what you'd expect.
Yeah.
And I love that. I thought that was a great moment, because it kind of gave it an old-timey real film look to it, and it was a great moment. There's a lot of them in the show. And like I said, the opening theme, it's a bit jarring that first episode, but once you look at the imagery and start thinking about the song, now I don't speak Japanese and I never actually read the lyrics, so forgive me, but it does fit the series tone after that. It's just that first time I saw it, bam! However, the ending, closer, it's way too depressing for this series. Kind of like a melancholy, brooding thing that you don't get from the series.
It's unfortunately a little too close to the first opening to Death Note, which, at least for my taste, it's just where they try to take like what should be this like dark feeling the show presents, like that the opening pulls off so well, especially with the animation, and then they just put like some dreary schlock over it.
So you mean the closer?
And there's and then there's like some emo opening, or stuff in it, and it's just a complete mess for me. I admit I never really got into the ending, and there are definitely parts of the opening that I really liked. There's actually going to be a second opening later as time goes by.
I've seen the second opening. I'm not a fan compared to the first.
The first one really is better, and
the second one, it's okay. I think it captures more of the tone of the show, but I don't think I like the female singer.
That's fair, but for me, the number one thing that I noticed about the opening, and this is something that I personally like, is in most anime openings they might show like an opening scene, and this series does that, but they will then just cut to the opening. It's just a clean cut. In this series, they decided to do something a little different, and they will actually take whatever the animation was, pause it on that still, and then like the opening just begins to almost like crawl over it. And it really like added to the unsettling feeling of the show, because like even like right from the get-go, it's not like a natural transition. It's not really a transition I've really seen in a lot of media in general.
And that's what this show does really well. It keeps you off balance. It keeps you... It shows a lot of different tactics, and it's not predictable. It doesn't do the same thing we've seen 100 times. Anime at this point is almost, what, a formula? Intro, opener, half. Commercial break, half. Closer, preview for next episode. But this way, the cuts really do jar you, and it's not natural cuts. They're very unnatural at times, and it gives you this really unnatural feeling about the show.
The series even presents certain scenes a little differently. Like, you might see an entire day from one person's perspective, and this is one thing that I really like about the series, is you get a very nice progression of time, because regularly throughout the program, they will give you the exact date. And you just think like, oh, I wonder why they did that. It's because they want you to notice the progression of time and how all these things are happening in a relatively short period of time. This isn't like super long period of time.
It takes place technically over quite a few months.
Still, like for like everything that's happening in it, it really is like unsettling almost. And
I think it started in July.
July, but the end of the series I think is in September.
No, they're in September now. Or October. One of the two. It does go over months. I mean, it's not
It's
quick.
a half a year at most, I think.
Yeah, it's not a long time. It's relatively quick for what's happening in the series, but they do emphasize that it is happening over a longer period. And like you said, they do a great job of showing different people's perspectives. One episode we're entirely the doctor. We're watching him all day. One episode we're watching the monk. One episode we're watching the kid. One episode we're watching different people, a couple of them.
Some episodes really just focus on a lot of the side characters that aren't so important. And it really is, it adds a lot to it, because you'll see things from a certain different perspective, and then you're like, oh, that actually kind of elaborates on how that happened. And especially towards the end when there's so much going on, because it really is a good ending. And I know this is probably kind of torturing you, like, it's a good ending. Well, I'm not there yet, but, whatever.
I'll get there soon
I
enough.
enjoy your suffering, it doesn't matter.
I can tell you how many good side stories there are to my Lifetime Little Pony. You have to finish Life and Times first, anyways.
I don't want to play this game.
Anyways, now I do have one. Like I said before, I'm not a fan of horror. I hate almost everything that has to do with horror, because I find it predictable, I find it boring. And yes, I do get scared in these things, but it's a one-time feeling, and after that, never again. And that's what I hate. If you're going to scare me, you got to scare me with atmosphere, something like Silent Hill 2, Eternal Darkness, or even the original Parasite Eve game really freaked me out. Or a really good one is Fatal Frame 2. These are games that give you an atmosphere, and they make you feel helpless, and they make you feel weak, and they make you feel trapped. And I love that. This show does a great job with the atmosphere. But here's the question: is it scary? Parts, yes. Like I told you, the Megumi coming out from under the bed, pants wetting, terrifying. A lot of imagery is very freaky, but there was no sense of pop scares, so I like that. But it is a story that they build up, and it's a story I could see myself watching again. It's not my one-shot horror shit. So I do have to give him I have to give it a good recommendation. I have to say, if you get the chance, watch it. And so far, you won't be disappointed.
So we both like what we watched.
Apparently so. Though you read yours.
I watched the letters form words.
You have a weird mind.
So,
I'd like to see how it works.
Just
Why did I didn't bring my knife?
Just out of curiosity, is there like a lesson to be learned here about how we shouldn't judge genres by certain stereotypes?
God, no, I still hate horror.
Yeah, I'm not going to read any fan fiction that isn't My Little Pony.
Oh. But at least we've found an interest.
I guess.
It's almost like we're becoming friends. Oh, God! No, fuck this! I'm out! I'm done! We were told we had to come back.
Yeah, it turns out the job isn't really done until we say goodbye to you guys. So, that was the OtakuWay's newest series, Challenge Accepted. We want to do more of this show, but, give us your feedback. Tell us if you guys liked it.
Tell us anything at this point. We really don't care. We just want to know if you're out there.
Yeah, we really don't have that many subscribers or comments or likes or anything that really shows that anybody's watching this show. I mean, we're still getting paid, so we aren't really complaining all that much, but
it'd be nice to know we actually have a purpose.
Some meaning, if you will.
Seems so empty.
I really hope someone's listening to our voices right now. I really do.
Yeah, whatever. So, if you liked it, try it for yourselves. Challenge your friends and see what you can get done. If you want to torture somebody, challenge with something crappy. I may be doing that to someone I know pretty soon.
And someone may respond in kind, so I suggest someone watch their shit.
I suggest someone watch over their back.
I suggest someone watch the dot on their head.
I suggest someone watch that bleeding, gaping wound.
I suggest someone watch who paid that person with the gaping wound because they can be paid more money to return the favor.
I suggest that you don't assume the person was paid or that it was someone else. Really, you didn't feel that?
The thought occurred to me. I just didn't know you cared about me that much.
Of course. I've always wanted your heart. In the dumpster.
Fascinating.
Anyways, tell us what you think, and we'll be doing this again soon.
Bye.
Peace.